Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to SOAR again. Brunch Bites. We're back again. Hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed last month. I know that I did. It was so much information given towards real estate. Shout out to Patrick Easley. Shout out to my cousin Tisha Doyle for joining us and making that such a successful event. Today, we're going to talk about armed forces, and I'll give you a little background as to why I wanted to have this discussion. Oh, how you doing, Miss Rush? Oh my God, I'm so glad to have you. I love you. She's watching from DeKalb, Mississippi. Shout out to DeKalb. Shout out to God Cares. We love you guys up here in Chicago. Anybody else want to share where they're watching from? I'm joining from Chicago. I'm West Side and South Side. I'm city and suburbs. I'm all of it. I'm church and got a little hood, but God is working on the hood part. But what we wanted to do, Memorial Day is in the month of May, and we honor the memory of soldiers that have passed in while they were in duty. And we also, we honor people that are that have passed, that did serve. How you doing, Pastor Lavelle? Good to see you. Yes, got my brunch ready. Yes, Kathy. Rep. West Side. We are excited to be here. And so one of the things that I felt really strongly about that I never did, I never asked my father what did he feel about his military time. Now, my father went during the Vietnam War, but God blessed him that he didn't have to go because he had flat feet. Now, I have no idea why he couldn't go to work or go to war because he had flat feet, but I thank God for them flat feet. It saved his life. Let us get here. And so some people have said, well, your dad wasn't in there for a long time. It doesn't matter. Like whatever he was in there, God protected him, shielded his life, and he carried the badge of being a soldier well. And I feel like sometimes in our community, we don't have enough conversations about armed forces. All I knew is they showed up at my high school one day, and not high school. Let's back up. Grammar school, we had ROTC and all those kind of things. And I was kind of a tom girl, a little bit tomboy mixed with a little girly. And so I didn't want to do all that stuff, but I always admired them in their uniforms. I always admired how they came and they were in sync. But I never got an opportunity to really talk to any of them to see what their experience was like. Hey, Tanja, I knew my South Side would show up. I told y'all I'm from the South Side. I'm from the West Side. I need a suburbanite to pop on so you can rep. Sister Rush already rep my out of town. So I hope some of my Alabama people are here and you could join us as well. So the purpose of this brunch bite is to have conversations with people who were either once in the military or active. I want to have some conversation with them, find out what their experience was like, how it impacted their lives, and if we can, dispel some myths, because there's a lot of myths tied to the armed forces, good, bad, indifferent. But I wanted to have that conversation today. So I'm going to have some guests that are going to come on later, but right now I'm going to introduce the ones that are here with me. Listen, my first guest, we have been knowing each other since John Hay Community Academy. Now, I can't remember what it was before they changed the name. Our principal was Mr. Crossengro, I think that was his name. And hey, Uncle. My uncle is on here from Alabama, Bishop F.L. Williams. Hey, welcome. And we have God allowed us not only to go to grammar school together, but we went to high school together. And God has preserved our youth. And even though we don't see each other often, I am just so blessed that my friend, my childhood friend, is an amazing woman of God, an awesome woman of God, and God uses her. It's so funny. If I, maybe that's what I'll do one day, Lynn. We'll bring on all the Eagles. We'll bring on all the Eagles and let's talk about the bus rides up to Taft. You know what? Let me bring her on now, right quick, before I bring on the next guest. Everybody, I'm sorry, I call her Lynn, but her name is Anthea Seraphim Porter. Would you guys welcome her with me? Hi, hon.
Hey.
Hey, welcome, welcome. I was just sharing, man, we need to do a thing on the Eagles from Taft and how God not only preserved our lives, riding all the way from the west side of Chicago out there,
Way out there.
way out there, and then yeah, and we've created lifelong relationships and friendships, and God is using so many of us, and it is just such a blessing. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. I heard a little bit of some of that beautiful welcome. I receive it all for myself. I don't know her, but I want to meet her.
That's you. That's you. Tell the people where you're chiming in from.
Well, I'm actually here in the beautiful state of Arizona, a suburb called Queen Creek. It's the far, far East Valley, they like to say, before you start going out there to another highway to another area.
Okay.
Originally, well, I am from Dominica in the Caribbean. Migrated to Chicago, Illinois, child, the west side, and went many places from that west side, but most memories were made there. And then I've always wanted to come here, and I tell people jokingly, but it's true. When Waiting to Exhale came out, I just felt this like theme, this thrust, like I want to go to Arizona, and the Lord would be like, not now, not now, not now. So it was many years later, and I'm here. And the only thing I miss about Chicago, other than my friends, is a Baba super mix or the rice soup.
We need to open up a Baba's out there for you.
Listen, because Harold's came, Chicago Chicken came. I mean, that's them. But if a Baba's comes out here, my God, I'm around now. I don't know. The Lord might put me on an eternal fast.
Well, we are so excited to have you, and hopefully, maybe somebody watching that owns a Baba's and hit my sister up so we can open up a Baba's out there for her. Welcome, welcome, and I'm grateful to have you today, and I can't wait till we get into this conversation. And then I want to welcome. Y'all been knowing him, y'all. I don't want to embarrass him, so I'm gonna word this right. I'm not gonna say I've been knowing him since he was in Pampers. I'm just gonna say I've been knowing him all his life. And I have watched him progress and watch him take on life as a father, as a businessman, as a son, as a brother. And Jaquel is just such a blessing in my life. And I'm grateful for his calling. I'm grateful for all that he does. And so I'm going to welcome him in. His name is Jaquel, but we call him Edwin. Hey, Edwin, welcome. Hold on. We got you on mute.
Say something again. Hey.
Hey, welcome.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
Honored I'm glad you're here, and I am so excited. I wanna say I have seen you. I mean, just transform. Not that you weren't a bad kid, but just watching your transformation from childhood to manhood. You make me proud, sir. You make me proud. I know Boy want to try and chime in and say something, but she not on this this fight, so I'm gonna brag about you. So let's jump in. Let's talk. We'll have another guest join us shortly. Let me ask this. First of all, tell us what part of the military you were a part of, and where were you stationed out of? So, ladies first.
All right, thank you. I was a part of the United States Naval Reserves. We actually did boot camp in Orlando, Florida, but we were based out of a little office close to the post office in the mall of Bill Winston's church, right in Forest Park.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we drilled 1 weekend a month. And then we went some wild places on our 2 week.
Okay.
Time. Yeah.
Okay. Jaquel?
I was in the United States Army. I was stationed in Leavenworth, Kansas.
Okay. So this, I'm gonna just let you guys jump in. What made you enlist? What was no shake your head there. What was the push? What was the thing? Because in our communities it can have a little negativity on it. It's almost like don't eat the watermelon seeds, don't point to the stars. And so what made you enlist?
Well, Edmund, I prefer you. You want to go?
Okay. What made me enlist was it's crazy, but growing up on the west side of Chicago, joining the military was something I never thought I would do. Never in a million years thought I would do it. Never. Like my brother tried it out, and I told him he was dumb for doing it. Like I said, he literally signed up for the Army Reserve, and I said, "You stupid. Like, why would you do that?" Years passed, and what happened was when I graduated high school, because I came from a single parent home, I knew college was expensive. So I told my mom, I said, I'm not going to college. I said, I'm not going to college. She was telling me, she said, why are you not going to college? I was like, because you can't afford, you can't afford for me to go to college. Like you can't afford it. So she's like, no, you're going to college. So I graduated in May of June. And that year I did not, when we took our test in school, I can't remember the options that you fill out. Like, do you want college to send to you? I wrote on there, do not send me anything. I put all zeros, all fives, whatever it was when I was in high school. Don't send me anything, no matter what my test results were. Don't send me anything. So that summer passed, and my mom was like, you were serious? I'm like, yeah. So I found a school where I had a passion of what I wanted to do. So I found the school that I could start what I love to do. And bills were racking up, college was racking up. And I'm like, before you know it, I'm $30,000 in debt, literally. So I picked up a job, and I was like, job wasn't paying anything enough to eat and help out with whatever financial aid wasn't covering and my loans weren't covering. So some time go on, a couple years later, maybe about 3 to 4 years. By this time I was engaged and I had college debt. I had a baby on the way, I believe. And I was like, commercial went across the TV, and it gave the option to say, we'll pay for your school, your education. And I knew what I wanted, but I just couldn't afford that degree. So I looked at my fiance and I said, what do you think about us joining the military? By us, I mean, I didn't want her to join, but I had to get her approval, of course. And we talked about it, and ultimately I did it. And this was in 2012. I joined the Army in 2012. Raised my right hand in the summer of 2012.
What was you thinking when you was being enlisted? What was going to cross your mind?
In all honesty, what was going to cross my mind is I had somebody. I feel like in family, somebody has to make that jump, has to make that sacrifice, so that those after you don't have to, be affected by certain things. And I felt at the time, me signing up for the military was the best thing I could do for my family. Whether those before me or my children to come. And so far, I mean, I don't regret doing it.
Awesome. Well, for me, it was a whole lot different. They did come to our high school. They came to our high school, and I went around to all the colleges, and the only thing that was really sparking an interest to me was Jackson State. But I had never really been away from home, in that capacity. And I was thinking, I don't know if I want to really do this. So as much as I didn't want to go away anywhere, here's the kicker. I had a friend from grammar school and high school, Geraldine Dixon, or grammar school, because she went to it, says, I think we should look into this buddy program of the Navy. I was like, we. So I was like, well, first of all, but what is this about? What's the Navy about? Whatever. And I had never really heard anything bad about the military up to that point. I knew there were things. I knew about wars. I did know a little bit about Tuskegee Airmen. I knew a little bit about, the First Regiment, those that the men that served in war, and basically our Black regiment that gave their lives for the country, if you will, and went unrecognized for so long. So I hadn't heard those things, but it was not something that was imputed on us. We didn't learn that in school,
Yeah.
So I said, well, I'm not doing anything. I wasn't so sure about Jackson State. I wasn't really worried about finances because I felt like, oh, well, I just get a grant or a loan or whatever. I had no idea of what it was like to really just set some leveled expectations. My expectations were lofty and they were discombobulated. But I went on and signed up with her because the recruiter said this to me. The recruiter said, we have a new program. And this program will allow you to do 2 years active duty and 2 years ready reserve, and then you can become a recruiter. I don't know where that program came from or when. I have not ever heard about that program since then. But anyway, hook, line, and sinker, we went in. I thought also we're going in a buddy program. And my understanding of a buddy is someone that's with you throughout the process of whatever. Boot camp came around, and we had the first PT, and it was a struggle for both of us, but she didn't finish her run. And that's when I started to learn about the separation. So initially getting in was really just because I honestly did it with someone because I thought that I would be helping them, they'd be helping me, and then I bought it hook, line, and sinker that I could then have this career of recruiting people into what I thought was pretty good offer, pretty good substantial type of life. And man, we'll go further, but ooh-wee.
Wow. So do you feel like, and after I ask this question, I'll bring in our other guests because I would love to get his perspective on it. But do you feel like most people that sign up, it's either a moment of, oh, this is all I have available, or are they car salesmen into it? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the best decision you could ever make. Like, what do you think?
I kind of think it's both, if I may answer. I do feel like unless someone has some military exposure and is just that type of character, or the family did it, granddaddy did it, granddad did it, great granddad, daddy, uncle them, and all of that, and that's what mama was even, I'm a military brat, that kind of thing, then you kind of have the ability to make a more conscious decision, even though now your strong armness, if you will, is coming from the family side, from that generational aspect.
Okay.
But for the most part, I think that just like, if I may call you Edmund, just like Edmund said, it was the whole idea of, I had a goal, and I needed to do what I need to do. So it's like, oh, let me make this decision. It's going to be the best thing for us. And as in many things in life, and even as believers, we don't know the end. We only know in part. And Jesus, that knowing in part, when I say that thing, because as much as my experience was a very good one, I wish that somebody would have just sat me down and said, listen, you don't necessarily have to like it or love it, but these are your options. These are the benefits. This is what can happen. And I would have made so many different choices, so many, but there was not that guidance. So
wow.
Anybody in a heartbeat, talk to somebody that's been there. You're going to get a lot of people to say, I wish I would have never. Then you're going to get the people that's going to say, oh, I'll do it again. And then pray and let God give you some sincere, balanced information to make an informed decision.
Wow. Edwin, did you want to share anything before I bring in Tony with us?
No, go ahead.
Okay, great. I love what you said about you thought you were helping somebody else. You thought you were joining a buddy system. So before we go to the next question that you done made, Pete, we have our next guest here. His name is Tony Briscoe. I'm going to bring him in. I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell us what part of the military he was from and where he's calling from in the United States. Welcome, Tony. Welcome.
What's going on, family? If you can't hear me, let me know and I'll get some things turned up here.
Oh, I hear you well. I hear you very
Excellent.
well.
Excellent.
Welcome to SOAR again. We presenting the discussion about the armed forces. I want to hear your inspirations. I want to dispel some myths. I want to go into that thing. But and Thea was saying that she joined thinking that this was a buddy system. And so I kind of wanted to piggyback off of that, because I felt a little revelation on that or whatever. How many things in life do we get involved in because we think we've already got the person that's going to walk through the whole situation with us?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Greetings, everybody. My name is Tony Briscoe. I was an 11-year veteran of the Naval Reserves. I did 20 months on active duty after 9/11, and I only had 6 good years towards retirement. I was not down with former President Bush going into Iraq. I didn't find it was any justification for it, and so I chose at that time to leave the military. I felt Iraq was just truly unjust. I felt no reason behind it at all. And that's with the limited intelligence that I have. But, outside of limited intelligence on what the United States government does, I have to trust that the Lord is leading me in the right direction before the military is. I discerned that we'd find nothing in Iraq.
Yeah.
And we didn't. And we didn't. And so, I'm from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised here in the city. That's right. Big C, baby. That's how we do it. I had an awesome time last night. We had a high school prom for our students in a network I work for at Soldier Field. It was simply amazing. It was no dancing allowed. They just got to walk through the stadium, and we set up a lot for them. So I'm coming off a real big high from yesterday and excited to be here. And thank you for inviting me and having me on. I appreciate it.
Great. And so what I want to ask, and maybe this is Edwin, it's to all of you. How did joining the military affect your family, your children, or how were they able to your decision, right? But how were they affected by your decision?
For me, my daughter wasn't. So she was born after my military time. So, okay. So she wasn't no impact at all. I think a lot of this has to do with how you go in. I was painted a rosy picture, but at the time I had finished high school. I had nothing going on, and my foster mom, who I call my mom, she was just like, son, you got to do something with your life. And she said, boy, I didn't expect you to turn around in 2 weeks and join the Navy. I was too fearful to join the full-time Navy. I just did not know what I was going to get into. It is one of my regrets, and I'm not going to lie, I loved the military. My 20 months on active duty in Great Lakes was one of the best times of my life. I found a camaraderie. I found a brotherhood, a sisterhood. After 9/11, when a lot of reservists got called up, we just built our own community with each other. That does not take away from the racism I experienced at my reserve center. There was one white officer who was just the biggest, gigantic a-hole I've ever met in my life. And I remember one of the master at arms literally picked me up and carried me out of our gymnasium / lunchroom doing PRT. Because this white officer, for whatever reason, did not like how I was doing my push-ups, and I was doing my push-ups exactly like the captain I was doing push-ups right next to. And so if my push-ups are wrong, then his push-ups are wrong.
Yeah.
And what I saw in that time, like even the black officers around never addressed this white officer and his antagonizing of me. And military, if you fail one part of PRT, you failed the whole thing. So I'm like, well, if you're failing me on push-ups, I'm not going to try to run 1.5 miles. Because it doesn't matter. If you fail one, you fail all. So if you can't do sit-ups, if you can't do a sit and reach, if you can't do push-ups and you can't run, if you fail one, you fail them all. So I'm like, why would I waste my energy dealing with this clown if I'm going to fail them all anyway if I fail one? So, I stopped, and it was, I look at it. I look at even the times, even the black officers who were a higher rank, who were commanders at the time. I just saw their silence as, well, Briscoe's a hothead anyway. He needs to learn a lesson. Or two, that they knew that the power struggle that was in place, that even though he was a white lieutenant, he still had more power than black commanders in the military.
Wow.
That's how I looked at it. And I could be, this is how I took it. My fellow veterans may take it differently, but that's how I took it. I ran into a similar situation with a senior chief in Great Lakes where I had a really good relationship with the officer community down in Pensacola, Florida. I had worked for them for like 15 straight months. My job when I got to Great Lakes after 9/11 was to make sure that anybody who wanted to come on active duty was to process their paperwork, and anybody who wanted to transfer from a different duty station while they were recalled, that was my job. That was my work. And part of that work, there was a senior chief who got irritated with the officer community calling me instead of calling him. And so he told a lie on me. And the officers called me like, hey, we heard such and such from this senior chief. It didn't sound like you. You know what's going on? And I said, I don't know what's going on, but I can tell you one thing. All due respect, ma'am, he's a bold-faced liar, and I'm going to address it with him. And they were like, well, you know, Petty Officer Briscoe, just, you know, choose your words carefully. I was so hot, I didn't listen to that kind of wisdom. And right in front of my LPO, I gave this senior chief the riot act, and he turned straight red. And he looked at my LPO and he said, you better take care of this guy. And he was like, you know, I got to write you up. I said, I don't care about you writing me up, but nobody's going to lie on me. And I said, and you and I, we going back to Chicago after this Great Lakes tour is over. If anybody should be standing with me, it should be you. But I'll tell you this, that senior chief, after that day, now my workload increased because, you know, you got to pay the costs, right? I had to pay the costs.
Yeah.
But that senior chief stopped by that office every week to talk to me. When we lost our child, that senior chief walked into the office. He said, I don't want to see you in here for a week. Don't put no time off in at all. And my LPO said, man, was that senior chief leaving your office? I said, yes, it was. He said, man, I think he respects you more now just for standing up to him. I said, brother, at the end of the day, before I put on a rank, before I put on Petty Officer Second Class Briscoe, the Lord made me fearfully and wonderfully. You're not going to disrespect my name. I don't care who you are. If that means you got to bust me down, put me in captain's mask, you do whatever you got to do. But man, that senior chief after that, he took care of Petty Officer Briscoe. If I needed to leave early on a Friday, he'd be like, don't ask me, you just go. Leave whoever in the office in charge, you just go. Our relationship changed my last few months in Great Lakes because he learned to value and respect my opinion. We ended up mentoring some of the same young people in Great Lakes who were getting themselves in trouble. And so even with the negative experience that was there, man, I loved the military. What I wish I had was more guidance. I wish I had more mentors, more understanding that should have said, you can make this a career. You don't have to be fearful. You can actually make this a career. And I look at God's path for me. It just wasn't it, because if he wanted me to do it, he would have made a way, whether it was forced or not, for me to be on active duty. And so it's just one of them things I look at. But man, I absolutely loved and enjoyed my time in the military. It was great.
Well, I'm gonna ask Edwin, and then I'm gonna ask Anthea. Did you enjoy the total experience?
Before I answer that, just to touch on the question you asked.
Okay.
At the time I joined, the effect on my family, my children, or those before me. At the time I joined, I was already a father. I was freshly married, and I was a year removed from my grandfather passing. So it was a very difficult time for me. I knew that I had goals, and I wanted my education paid for, and I wanted to be, who I wanted to be. And I knew that I had to take the move for my family, but it was tough me leaving at that time because, again, I felt like I was leaving behind, my grandmother, my mom, and the man who had carried our family for years, had just passed away a year before I left. And at the time, my brother was dealing with kidney failure. So he's a year and a half older than me, but he's next in line on the throne to be the man in the family, but he's struggling in health. So it was a heavy burden, and I never knew what depression was. I knew what it was, but I never felt, depression. And sometimes people go through depression and don't know they're going through it. It's called living depression. You just living in depression. So in that moment, I felt I didn't know it, but years later, I felt to understand that I was living in depression, functioning in depression, because I was making the choice to provide for my family to come, but I felt like I was leaving my a family behind as well, which is also my blood, you know. And I was torn in between the decisions. So I was living every day doing what I had to do, but you know, at night, just you know, just bothered by the fact that I'm over 500 miles away from you know those who raised me, and my brother struggling on dialysis every day doing in-home dialysis. And you know, and now my grandmother, who was married almost 50 years to my grandfather, you know, now without her mate, you know, and my mom for my life, pretty much my entire life has been a single parent. So it was like, you know, and it's just I'm leaving this behind. But you know, the thing that kept me going as the family person was, you know, I thought, you know, I remember visiting my grandfather the last time in the hospital before he passed, and he wasn't talking, but I grabbed his hand, and you know, he was just laying up there. And this is also the time I told him that I had a child on the way, you know. And it's crazy because he was just laying up there. And my grandfather, I kid you not, my grandfather, I laid up there, I told him, and I was in the room by myself. I talked to him, and you know, we didn't have, you know, my grandfather was born and raised in Alabama. He's one of them old stern men. He worked. That's all he knew was work, work, work. So a lot of times you don't have too many conversations with those type of people, you know, because they work. They're about business. You know what you doing, you know. So, you know, I told him, I said, Granddad, I said, man, I got a baby on the way, and laying up in the hospital, breathing tubes up in his nose, you know, on support and everything. He squeezed my hand, and for me, even though, you know, I always look back at that time, and for me, even though it was hard, I feel like when he squeezed my hand, it was a sign of approval. Like, you have to do what you have to do. For years, my grandfather supported my family. You know, I mean, that he supported my family. You know, he was a man of the family. He took care of pretty much everything a man had to do. So to hold my hand that day and land up in the bed, knowing he probably would never see, you know, his own favorite chair in the house again, you know, there was a sign of approval to say, you know, go ahead and do what you have to do. You know, carry on. Like, your mama gonna understand, you know, grandma gonna understand. She's gonna understand what you're doing, because at the end of the day, it's going to pay off. So, I mean, that was, for me, that was my experience of joining for my family. I mean, you know, the effect I have on my family. When I left for training, I did miss my first Father's Day. I missed my child's first birthday. So, I mean, that was a very emotional time for me. Father's Day in 2012, pretty much, I'm standing. We were in training. We were allowed to go to, you know, whatever religion we practiced on Sundays. So we had about an hour or 2 hours to, you know, go off to wherever, you know, church, you know, you wanted to attend. And, you know, that whole time I'm standing in church, I'm just crying because I'm just thinking back home. I'm in training right now, and I know I'd be reunited with my family, but at that moment, I'm at training. So I'm just like, you know, all I could think was, you know, it's my first Father's Day, and I can't hold my daughter, you know. So, I mean, that was a rough time for me. But, you know, I feel like my children, they, even though, you know, later on we were stationed as a family in Leavenworth, you know, I pretty much gave the military a lot of my time on a day-to-day basis. So, you know, my children, they would play with other military children, but I feel like it was definitely a different scenery. You know, that was pretty much their childhood. So that was the first of their childhood, was growing up in the military family. So now being back in Chicago, they get a taste of some of the things, you know, that we got a taste of growing up in Chicago. But I'm grateful that they started their childhood, you know, in the military home, and was able to meet different people of different nationalities, different walks of life. And I think today it plays a role in, you know, how my children can see certain things and understand different things, opposed to what's just on the west side of Chicago, or, you know, the Chicagoland area. So,
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna make it quick, and to answer the question, yes, I definitely enjoyed my time in the military. There were definitely some struggles. There were definitely some bad days. The brother Tony spoke about racism. I'm not gonna share no story and prolong the time, but racism is definitely real in the military as well. I've dealt with that. But overall, I had a great time. I've gained a set of, we started off calling them buddies. I've gained a set of brothers that I talk to every day, you know, 3-4 times a week. We have our own chat, and we continuously talk, check on each other, pray with each other, you know, support one another in different walks of life. And I'm grateful for that, because I've built some great, strong bonds with these young men and women.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are things, I mean, that you can't change about that. I'm just grateful for it.
That was great. I love that you said you felt like he was saying, do what you have to do, it'll pay off. And I think so many times, not just with the military guys, I think that sometimes we've made decisions as young people with not a lot of clarity, with not a lot of guidance. And some people live in regret for years about the decisions that they made. But because we're faith-filled people, I want to share with people that whatever decision you make, that God will shield you. He will, even if it's not the greatest of decisions, even if it's not the best decision to make, the steps of a good person, of a good man, are ordered by the Lord. And even if his foot slip, he may slip. He may slip.
Look, I got to throw a hallelujah in there. Thank you.
Yeah, come on. I want to encourage people because you would be amazed. They may not be soldiers, they may not be in the armed forces, but there are soldiers in some part of their lives. And I believe the enemy beats us with these regretful decisions that we make. And I believe no matter what it is, I heard somebody say it's either a lesson or a blessing. And we've got to take the negative spin off of stuff and start looking at it, especially, and I'm coming to you, Lynn, especially when we survive. When we survive, it is a greater lesson if we could just push ourselves beyond that regret. So you were talking about boot camp. And so I want to dig into that a little bit more, Anthea, because, I think what I have learned is we see a picture, right? We want the blessing, but we somehow miss sometimes that the blessing comes along with a journey. And I think that I want to talk about the boot camp experience to get you to a certain place. So go ahead, Lynn, it's on you. I want to talk to you about the boot camp.
Boot camp. So boot camp, it's a common theme for the military, and this is not unlike anything else we face in life. The prejudice was unreal. The prejudice from our petty officers, the master chief, things of that nature, it was just unsurpassed. A black master chief, for example, didn't have the authority maybe as a second class PO, because that person was black versus white and so on. So we faced a lot of that. And in boot camp, I faced that. So boot camp was the beginning of my sorrows. Why did I do this? What was I thinking? And Geraldine, And so what happened in our boot camp actually is we had a situation where our master chief, our chief petty officer, I should say, liked one of the young ladies, and they began to form an affair. And people might think this stuff ain't going on. This boot camp. How in the world, it's going on. This is the same environment as corporate or any other type of environment where somebody in authority has the right to determine the next person's level of success. And what he did was it almost seemed like he targeted. I won't say he did, but so this young lady who also utilized the ability to garner his affections to get to different levels. And so for boot camp in the Navy, you had your 6 roles. You had your, I don't know how they do it in the Army per se, but you had your guidon, you had your row captain or whatever. I don't even remember the terminology, but so I was that person. I was the 6 roles lead. And what they did was seemingly target people. Now, you know me from school, so I had a disposition. I've been delivered, glory be to God, I think. But nevertheless, okay, I just blame on the West Side. Nevertheless, they utilized those of us that had a little more vocality, a little bit more of sass, a little bit more of an ability to say to somebody, you know what, we need to just get this done and get it over with so we can move on to the next thing. They liked that. They looked for that, and they felt like what they were allowing us to do or imputing on us was the ability to effectively lead. What we didn't realize, which I know today now just through, spiritual warfare and things of that nature, is you were just being a pawn used in order to, because of your boldness or your forwardness, in order for you to get everybody else rallied to still do what the thumb said you needed to do, because that's how you felt. Now, there were many good times. Church, oh my God. I came out of Catholicism, gave my life to the Lord. Church for me in boot camp was the bomb. I think I got more. I don't even know how or who took these pictures, but I have more pictures of us at boot camp and then our 2 week duty at the TUIN Briscoe place. But I have more pictures of church. I mean, we in there praising God in our dungarees and our blues and stuff, and we getting it in and giving God glory. I had no idea that God was processing me first to check this disposition, because honey, you have to hurry up and wait, and then you have to be broken down to be built up again. Now, while those things
wait, don't talk fast. Don't talk fast. You got to repeat that.
You have to hurry up and wait. Sound like the kingdom, don't it? And then you are broken down to be built up, to be what? Sufficient for the role by which you play. So we are believers on the line, right? You have to be set up in order for you to take the plunge, to be chipped away at like the potter does. The fire is turned up, the dross comes up, brushes it away off the silver because he's refining us. And through the prejudice, through church, through the mess hall, through division sidewalk, they call it division sidewalk, chap. It wasn't even an actual division, but that's where you went and got cycled. I was in the best shape of my life. I didn't realize the amount of structure. Now, I'm a West Indian, right? Caribbean parents don't play that. I tried it at school, but I wasn't deep. I didn't come home and act up. Oh, God, no. But the discipline was there, because no matter what I tried to get away from, you could go home. You could get a medical, discharge. You could but then you would have failed, seemingly. So boot camp spoke to that tearing down to build up. And I think, just to sidebar a little bit, I think that's a lot of what's missing today, even in our generation, right? Even in our generation, where now we're having to go back, and so many of us are activists for saying, come on, let me show you how to do it, or grabbing onto a generation and saying, let's do this, let's do that, because what we don't want, I don't want, excuse me, to be subject to nonsense and foolery like we can be now with government and things of that nature.
Yeah.
I'm get excited, right? That's what boot camp did for me. Boot camp introduced me to lifelong relationships. I have some lifelong relationships with people in boot camp. That same chief petty officer, because of the power of the Lord, it had to be God, turned around, and when I say helped us, thrusted us, got us what we needed, pushed us along, even when the one that he chose to be the RPOP, recruit petty officer or whatever they call him, didn't pan out. It didn't work out, because he had a first-class petty officer under him who was also our trainer, and she wasn't having it. Okay, this lady was a short little fiery thing. I don't believe she believed in Jesus Christ at all, but God used her anyway. And when I say you got set on straight street, I cried. Oh, I cried. And my tears profited me nothing, but you still got to do it. I called her. She finally got a call, and I said, can you please get me out of here? I hear it's sad that you can get me out of here. My mother was like, you chose, and I don't want you to regret anything, so go through the course. Tell me God wasn't speaking to Anthea in boot camp. On my boot camp. So when I talk about my experience, I do have that coat or that shell of regrets that I didn't take better advantage. It took me too many years. We're ready to be 50. It took me too long to grasp the deposit that was being made in the midst of the foolery. And that's a life lesson for us. This, oh my God, the songwriter says, this world is not my home, this is a stranger passing through. But in the process, I'm going to benefit if I surrender myself to being broken just to be built again, the way that I'm supposed to be, the way I'm supposed to look. So, yeah. And I didn't have any kids, no boo. I left my boo. He was cheating anyway. It didn't even make a difference. So, and I knew I wasn't supposed to have him, but because, And so guess what? God took care of that too. That thing was done. And thank God. Ooh, no regrets. Okay?
Good. No regret. Y'all are on fire today. I am so excited about it because I think that the life lessons, especially when you talk about the brotherhood and you talked about how you can hurry up and wait. And I think for many of us, we're looking for this quick in a hurry situation. And in the process, there's things that need to be broken off. There's things that need to come off of us so that we can be not just soldiers in the U.S. Army, but be soldiers in our community, just like Tony talked about the schooling, being soldiers so that our community can have something to aspire to. So I want to ask you this, and then I got another guest that I'm going to bring on in a minute, but I want to ask you, how did your perception of your purpose change after your time in the armed forces? How did your perception of yourself change after your time in the armed forces? And I want to say, Elder Eric, we coming to you. Don't hang up on me. I see you. I'm going to get you on shortly. Go ahead, you guys.
If I may, I will go first and just simply say that I realized that with all of the structure that was given to me as a child growing up, and even with the structure in the service, structure in schools and things of that nature, I was a rebel without a cause. I had attitude for no reason. Yes. I was angry. I mean, there are things, we're kids. We see things and we formulate our own emotional posture based on what we perceive to be a reality. But we all understand as adults that my feelings are just mine. They're neither right, wrong, valid, nor invalid. They're just mine, and they're based on my perception. And outside of Christ, we know that's a whole hotness. And in Christ, if we're not really being led of the Spirit, and not using discernment, then we will say it's discernment, but it's not Holy Ghost. It's Holy God, Lord. You know what? So I realized I still lack discipline. And it sounds so crazy because I am a person, anybody that knows me knows I need structure. I like things a certain way. But what I really came to realize is the military showed me that I liked control.
Woo!
Not that it had to be right together and lovely. I just wanted control. I just wanted to run it. I got all this vocal, all this mouth. I'm bold, I'm forward, and all this. But the true me, while she's not withdrawn, and Thea's not withdrawn, she can be shy. I have to get to know you. The true me loves to enjoy people, loves to see people laugh. The military helped me to realize you were trying to be all things to all men outside of Christ. You're just trying to be whoever so that you can control an outcome. And the service showed me, you don't have no control here. We'll never give you control here. The little bit that we give you, the leash that we give you, we can pull it back at any time. And we can take any and everything that we've given to you in any form of authority, in any capacity, including your liberty, your freedoms, back from you. So I personally learned, so I just wanted to go first and get it out of the way because it's the truth and it's saying today. I had a spirit of control. It wasn't discipline. I had a spirit of control. I submitted falsely so that I didn't have to hear it. That's like a nasty disposition. So I thank God for deliverance because now I can serve. Doesn't matter your age or what. Hey God, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to be used of them? Oh, just be in the background. Okay, watch the dish. Okay, cool. Clean the toilet. Sure, God, it's okay. Nobody has to know. Go at this time. Do it and don't tell nobody. Cool. Now I can do that and not have to worry about feeling like they just keep overlooking me. So what? So what? Just get it done because you have to supply what is needed. That's what your joint is supposed to do in this body of Christ. So.
Woo. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
That was good, y'all. Come on.
You can bring in Reverend Eric. We good. he about summed it up. One thing I remember about him.
You have control problems too. Is that what you're saying, sir?
What I'm saying is, I didn't have control problems. I was used to being controlled problems.
Ooh. Elaborate a little bit. Well, you know what? Hold on a second, Tony. Yeah. I'm gonna bring in Elder Eric. Eric, I want you to come in and just tell us what part of the military you was in and how long you were in. Everybody give it up for Eric White. He's joining us. How you doing? Can you hear us?
Good. I can hear you. And hello, everybody. In the spirit of transparency, I just want to say I'm not an elder. I'm a deacon. Proud to be. Okay. Haven't accepted that calling yet, as they say, right?
Okay.
I was in the Air Force. I was in the Air Force for 10 years, active duty, stationed many places overseas. And what else do you want to know?
I'm gonna come back to you in a second.
Okay.
I want Tony. I just wanted to get you in here. So,
Okay.
Tony, elaborate on that point you were just making.
I mean, when you grow up in a foster care system, you're just used to being controlled and told what to do. Even with being raised by family, the expectation was that I'll do what you tell me to do. There wasn't this sense of self-identity, right? And even growing up in church, like you're going to church as a child don't mean nothing. If you ain't been baptized and filled and received, it just means you just going to a place you can just hang out for a while. And church was still a safe haven for me, right? But that thought of I have to make decisions. No, what you mean? I'm used to someone telling me what to do. I remember when I met my wife, she said, "Hey, yo, I know you've been raised by women. I'm not raising no man. Like, you got to figure out, you got to figure out you." And I was like, "I don't need you to raise me. I'm a grown man." Then I called one of the brothers like, "Hey, I'm gonna need some help, elder, on this one. I don't know how to approach this," but I ain't let her know that, But it's to say that when the military says it controls your life, it controls your life. And I thought I had no voice. So I had to fight for a voice often. I had to learn to lead often. Boot camp was great for me because when I got there, we segregated instantly. Blacks was on one side, whites was on one side, Mexicans were on one side, Latinos were on one side, and the Filipinos went to one side. Company commanders, man, they broke that up quickly. They was like, "Oh," and we paid for it. Like, we had those center boards. We had to march around them bad boys with rifles on our head, do rifle jacks. Like, they were like, "I don't care what color you are," and this is a black and white one speaking the same language. I never saw division amongst them. I never saw beef between them. They talked the same language, and they was like, "Ain't no N-words here, ain't no spics here." I mean, they went through every racial name you could call for each demographic. They was like, "You are in the United States military now. Either you breathe on that ship together or you're going to die on that ship together. That's your only choice." So they instilled that in us early. And I never experienced that before in my life. But when it came to no longer being controlled, no longer looking for people to tell me what to do and being able to take lead, a lot of that just came through time. A lot of that came through development in the church when I did give my life to the Lord, where if it was a gap, nobody had to tell me to go fill it. I just moved into action because that's what the military did. It just moves you into action. And I was like, "Man, Lord, what you doing here?" A lot of my leadership skills got developed in the church. So if there's a need, not to complain about it, be about it and take the action. So if there are not enough men serving with the kids and the Lord is calling you to serve with the kids, don't matter about how many men not there, you be there like the Holy Spirit led you to be there. And so these leadership skills and these developments came over time because I was so used to just being told what to do. You keep that mentality with you for so long. God will force you in a position where you have to make decisions dependent on nobody but his guidance, his leadership, his authority, his wisdom, period. And it can be a lonely experience, but it's the greatness of that experience. Boot camp was cool. I just reconnected with the RCPO this year. I had not talked to this dude since 1990. We reconnected on Facebook. Me and Anthea reconnected on Facebook. Yeah. I remember her like, I never wanted to cross her path at the Reserve Center. I'm like, nope, nope. I mean, she had a reputation for just being no nonsense. She didn't like drama. She didn't like garbage. She didn't like liars. That traveled throughout the Reserve Center. So I didn't fit into those categories, but I was like, I still don't want to be on AT with her. Nope, I'm good. But the transition into being a leader and being in Christ through my reserve duty, used to go on AT, man, we be drinking, we be clubbing, drinking, and more clubbing. But year after year, I ended up taking AT by myself. When the Lord called me, I had to separate myself from being on AT with just anybody.
Wow.
There was no more clubbing. There was no more strip clubs. All of this stuff wasn't a part of my life anymore. Hey, Briscoe, where you going on AT? We going to Virginia Beach. This the weekend we going. Put your paperwork in with us. I'm going to Virginia Beach too, but I'm not going with y'all.
Wow.
It was a change. So
Wow.
now when I went on AT, I wanted to find out where was Bible class on the 2 Wednesdays I was going to be there, and where was service on the 1 Sunday I was going to be there.
Wow.
I had to be my own leader and not worry about fitting into a crowd anymore.
Wow, that's good. That's good.
That's
That's so good. Well, I'm gonna bring you in, Deacon Elder, with Deacon White. I want you to kind of sort of piggyback on that. I want you to tell us why you joined the military and what was the greatest lesson you learned. I know we're almost at the end, but I definitely want you to chime in and just tell us why you joined and what was the greatest lesson you learned.
Okay. First, I want to say something about what Brother Briscoe just said. I would say that the military didn't create that within you, but it just kind of refined it. Because I'm sure, as you know, there's a lot of people that are in the military, join the military, and for some reason they make it through, but they're not stellar in the military or even after. If it's not in you, it's not going to come out. The military will bring to the surface whatever you have in you and then refine it. If you have greatness in you, if you have leadership abilities in you, if you have an awesome work ethic somewhere hiding within you, then the military is going to be able to bring that out and refine it. If it's not in you, that's going to surface too. And then, in true fashion of the military, they're going to probably try to get rid of you. So, but I just want to say that, it was already in you, brother. It was already in you. Okay. So when I joined the Air Force, I didn't want to join. That was the last thing I wanted to do, because military before, many uncles, 2 of my brothers, and the things that they said about it was great, but I didn't want to be subject to anyone's any discipline. That was my issue. My mental image was, there's people that's gonna be telling me when to get up, when to lay down, when I can eat, what can I eat, and that was the last thing I wanted. I lacked discipline. And raised by a very authoritarian father, he didn't take any. He was on top of us. It was 12 of us, 6 men, 6 women, and he didn't play any games. You didn't get away with anything with Mr. George White. But when I was on my own, I didn't want any parts of any more discipline. So I didn't want to join the military. I was floundering around. I had left Chicago and I was in LA. Me and my brothers was trying to start a band, and it didn't go well. And so I was trying to get jobs here and there all over the place. And the last thing that me and one of my brothers did was we went to McDonald's and tried to get a job. We put in the application, waited patiently for the manager to come out. And it was only God's will. He came out and said that we both were overqualified. Right. And I said, I don't care. I said, whatever. I need a job. I said, I need a job. I don't care. Look, I can make an S with this mop. I can sweep. Teach me how to, work the fry, the burgers and make the fries or whatever. No. So we decided to join the military. It was absolutely a last resort to join the military. That was the last thing I wanted. After I got in, They was asking people, it was maybe a month in, they were asking people going around the table at my first base, which was in England. And, they were asking, why did you join? Why did you join? Why did you join? And most people were saying, I joined to serve my country. I joined to serve my country. And other people were saying, I wanted to get an education. And I told myself, I'm not going to lie. When they get around to me, I'm going to tell them the truth. But peer pressure, when they got around to me, I lied. I told them, yeah, I joined to serve my country. But that was absolutely not why I joined. I just needed a job, and I didn't want to do anything illegal. I didn't want to wind up in jail. I didn't want to be a black statistic. So I joined the military. That was it. But guess what? After I was in and I saw what they were about, I changed. And I can say that probably was in me too, the ability to be dedicated to a cause that was bigger than me.
Yeah.
Because after that, then I became a real soldier. After that, I was ready to lay my life down for this country. I was prepared. Like I said, I was in overseas places, and I was also a part of the stealth fighter program. Still a lot of things that I had a top secret clearance. Still a lot of things associated with that program that I'm not supposed to talk about. But a lot of those things, it was a choice. And my choice was to be prepared at any time. I'm sure you guys can relate to it, and women, you can relate to it, that, I had a bag packed all the time, ready to go. And I got the call a couple times, hey, go to the base. We're leaving. We're getting out of here. It's time. And I was ready to literally lay my life down for this country. So after starting out being kind of a knucklehead, just going to the military, for the money, it all changed. It was nothing about the money. They didn't pay me enough, and you all know that the military, you can't get rich in the military. And so they didn't pay me enough to be rich. They didn't pay me enough to be, well off. It changed. It was not about the money anymore. It was about America. It was about the cause. It was about keeping people free back here. When I was in Germany and when I was in England and other places, like I said, that I'm not supposed to talk about. So, it changed. It changed. And
Wow.
I can see that it brought those things out, and that's why, even when you were talking about the transition from, to being a servant of Christ, I will never give this up, because he laid his life down for us, and I am now prepared for the rest of my life to do what I can to bring those into the understanding that Christ is real, and that's all that we need in this world to get through.
Woo.
Sis, I got to share one piece.
Go ahead.
Because Deacon said something so key. He kept his bags packed.
Mm-hmm.
He was always prepared for duty.
Yeah.
When I got called up after 9/11, I was at work. I got to work at like 8 o'clock. They called me at 8:11. I saw the number on the caller ID and I knew what it was. They said, Petty Officer Briscoe, under presidential something, you are being recalled to active duty under Operation Enduring Noble Eagle and Enduring Freedom. I hung up the phone. I told my boss I'm out. He was a Navy man. Just said, hey, just go do what you told. Get back here safe. Called my wife. I said, grab my bag out of the closet. On my way home, we got to go to the reserve center. Showed up at the reserve center. They were not ready to receive me. They said, you are the first person who has responded.
Wow.
Who has come with I didn't need a uniform. After 9/11, in October, that first drill weekend, our leading commander, he said, everybody in here, listen to me. If you have not been recalled before, I guarantee you, this will recall you. Make sure your stuff is ready. When I got to the reserve center, They asked me to come back in 48 hours. My sea bag and my uniforms were already ready to go. They was like, I said, well, so you called me, but you weren't ready to receive me. They said people were asking for 5 days, 2 weeks. Well, can you give me a month extension? I said, when you said in October, be ready to go, I packed my sea bag. I was ready to go. It helps me know that when my pastor asked me something, it used to be, well, Pastor, I prayed. I don't feel led to do that. Now it's like when Pastor called, Elder Briscoe, I need you to do such and such. I got you.
Because I'm ready.
Yeah. I don't even know the how. God is in charge of the how. I'm responsible for the yes. I accept the duty. He's responsible for the how. I got to do my part.
Woo! Jesus is so good.
He equips those with whom he calls.
Yeah.
I know that's an overused cliche, but I'm living experience of it.
Yes.
Being prepared at all times to give an account for the hope that is inside of us. And baby, that's only the gospel that's going to change the hearts. We can do diversity, we can do equity, we can do inclusion 24/7, but it's only the gospel that's going to change the hearts of man. And we should keep doing diversity, we should keep doing equity, we should keep doing inclusion because it's important work. But when it gets down to the hearts of man, it's only the gospel of Jesus Christ that is going to change the hearts of man. And this is the season that we're in. Each of us has to be prepared to give an account for the hope through the Holy Spirit that is within us.
Y'all have
preaching this place.
Wore me out. This thing has been so good. I hate that we have to cut it off. I mean, I saw bring all of you guys together as one thing, and God had a full purpose. Thank you for these lessons today, especially about the discipline and the control. And you did it, and you had to do it, and being ready, and that your perception and your reasoning change, and that will work in anybody's life, in anybody's circumstance and situation. So those of you that are watching, I hope you can hear what they have given to us based on their experience in the U.S. Armed Forces. We're all in some level of battle, some level of situation where we need to be submitted. We need to be ready. We need to know our full purpose, and we need to do it unapologetically. We need to do it knowing that we were called, we were purposed, and that's the reason we survived Chicago. That's the reason we're still here. Come on, y'all, still here and still look good. You know what I'm saying? Like some people we went to school with, but we still look good. You know what I'm saying? Because he has purposed us, and we are to do what we do. Listen, at first I felt bad. I said, you're going to be the only woman out here that's a soldier, but I'm a soldier in the Army. Come on, I'm a soldier. Listen, I got my war clothes out in the Army clothes, but no, I'm just kidding. I thank God for each of you in your service. I thank God for your yes, whether it was an ill-informed yes, it still became a yes that drove purpose. And I know that the way you have spoken and imparted to us today, that you not only change you change your family, you change the course of your life, thereby changing the course of others. Somebody said one person's obedience is tied to so many people. And so thank you for your obedience. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your service. And most importantly, thank you for sharing today. We have been blessed. I don't know if anybody has any questions that they want to ask. I think that I don't know, Edwin, if you wanted to say something before I close everybody out. Well, let me go ahead. And I'm gonna share about SOAR again, but go ahead.
I'm glad. It's hard to follow Deacon White and Brother Briscoe, but you shared a word that was just in my brain the whole time they were talking, purpose. And just a quick story, like I said, why I joined. And I grew up in church, and so I was always one of the guys in church, one of the few people in church, who was always doing something involved in church. And I was eager to hold the offering basket, eager to, one of the young men on the camera, recording the service. And I always, did those things in church, and I was very active in church. And at the time, just to touch on the military, like I said, I joined for educational benefits. That's what I thought I was joining for. But in that time, I got away from what my comfort zone was, because I was just doing things in the community or in church or, wherever I was, but I didn't know my purpose. I was just doing it because that's what I was told to do, or that's what I was raised watching people. If you see anything to be done, get up there and do it. But I was just doing it throughout these years, and I didn't know my purpose. So real quick, I shout out to Faith Christian Center International in Leavenworth, Kansas, where my pastor was Pastor David Walker. I got away from Chicago, and when I was stationed in Leavenworth, I got to a church where I didn't have to do the camera. I didn't have to take offering. I didn't have to watch the door to make sure, somebody off the street didn't come in, So I got to sit in the seat and focus on, ministry, and focus on the word of God, to know that today now I know my purpose and why I do what I do and what I do. I had to build that relationship with God. I was just moving without a purpose, and today I'm so happy that, I joined the military for educational benefits and to set up my family, but God had a plan for me. And that was me to have a better relationship with him. And for me to now, fast forward today, have purpose and why I'm doing something. So if someone asks me why I was doing this or what am I doing this for, I can tell them, I'm moving in my purpose. And I'm grateful that, God had plans for my life that I didn't know, So I'm just happy that, today, like, as you mentioned, I'm just happy today that, and doing whatever we do, just let's make sure we know the purpose and why we're doing it, who we're helping, and and it's just not something we just woke up this morning and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, or because they called me, or because I'm sitting on this seat and nobody else want to get up. But like, have a purpose in everything you do, whether it's in ministry, whether it's in the military, whether it's in schooling, wherever it is, have a purpose, know your purpose. And I'm just glad that I got away in that time to build a better relationship with God. And today, to throw it back to you, I'm glad that today I'm living in my SOAR again.
Yeah, let's do it. Yes. Oh man, this has been such a blessing. I could talk to y'all all day, but I'm not gonna hold y'all, because we'll talk and the sun will be coming down, because I love revelation. I love the nuggets that you guys have dropped to us. I really hope that if there's any parents on here and you have children that are considering things, that you would have them watch this and listen to these men and this awesome woman about their experience. Although it had some rough patches, all of them are better for it. All of them are accomplished, and all of them are sure that they have been purposed for this work. So I say thank you on behalf of SOAR again for you guys joining us today. This has been our brunch bites. We decided we're going to come together and we're going to talk about the subjects that are not talked about, and we're going to glean from it and organically allow it to really have an impact on people. I believe that people were truly blessed today. SOAR, again, is a non-for-profit organization, but we've been called to impact, enhance. And if you would like to see more about what we're doing, please go to our website. On our website, if you feel led to share so that we can continue to do this type of work, there's a donate button on there. And then I'd also like to announce that we have partnered. Well, I guess we partnered with ourselves. We do this thing called Poetry in the Park. So every first Sunday, we will be on here and we'll be highlighting different poets. We're working on a program to impact young people's lives and to even give an opportunity to people who always wanted to do things but never got an opportunity to do it. So this has been a SOAR again presentation. I have thoroughly enjoyed you all, and I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for putting the icing on the cake God told us to bake. Y'all have done it today. I'm so excited. And Thea, I love you from Laramie and Thomas and Augusta. I love you all the way to Cicero. And I love you forever. I thank God for you. I love your purpose. Deacon White, all my life I've been knowing you. So I thank God for you sharing and giving that power, especially when you said they can only refine what's in you. Most people think that they've got to become something and it's already in them. And Brother Tony, thank you for allowing us to meet you today. You will not, this is not your last time. We're going to get your information. So you need to go to SOAR again and send your information, because we would definitely want to have you back again. You guys be blessed. We believe that the favor of God will be upon you, upon your children, upon your homes, upon everything that you do. May he bless your going out and your coming in this time and forevermore. Until we meet again next month, we are going to have a discussion. And Tony, we might need to be talking to you. We're going to talk about foster care and how in our community we need to get more involved. There are so many children that need to be loved. And we're going to bring on some people that's going to talk about foster care. And one of the greatest things that I believe that the Lord told me to do with these brunch bites is to dispel myths and to give truth. And that's what we're going to do when we talk about foster care. So until we are back again, on behalf of the SOAR Again team and myself, again, I say thank you. God bless you. I don't know if anybody want to have 10-second closing remarks. I'm gonna have to count. I have to count you, but anybody want to have anything to say? Anybody got anything going on that you want us to support? Go ahead, Anthea.
I just want to tell the people, sleep with your war clothes on.
Okay.
That's what the Lord dropped in my spirit to share with the SOAR Again community. Sleep with your war clothes on. That's it.
Because we need to be ready. Come on, I got you. I got you. Anybody else before we go?
Just some camaraderie. Go Army.
We got Army, we got Navy Reserves, we got Air Force. Anybody else want to say anything before we leave?
Yeah, I was hoping to avoid a conflict, but to my Army brother, I always said if you can't go Army, if you can't go Air Force, you might as well go Army.
Yeah. Well, what do you Navy people have to say before we get out of here?
We don't talk about it. We be about it. We out.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. This has been amazing. Share, please just share, replay it, let people enjoy it. We'll be back here first Sunday with Poetry in the Park, and we'll be back next month with Brunch Bites, and we'll be talking about foster care. This is Valerie Houston. I love you all. God bless and have a great and amazing weekend. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.